Well, welcome everybody to our fourth and final week of the January online program for the alumni of the Sunshine Coast Health Center. And for this last episode in our January series, I'm just going to talk about the dangers of some relationships. So this month we've been talking about the importance of relationships, that they satisfy a natural human need to connect with people, to feel a sense of belonging, to find support. They are important for understanding who we are as human beings. So for self-awareness, you can't really have any good self-awareness without the input from other people. In fact, it is through that input that we actually develop a sense of our own identity. But like most things in human beings, in their lives, things can be good or they can be bad. And one of the sad things about this need to connect is it can lead to all sorts of unhealthy relationships. And these are important things to keep in the back of your mind. So as much as relationships may mean that we form families and join communities and do all these good things, equally, they're the reason why people might join a gang or organized crime or relationships that probably won't help you all that much in your recovery. Yeah. So one of the things to think about is, for example, some people, some clients here, when we explain to them the importance of their environment for recovery, and that it's very important for them to surround themselves with healthy, positive people. And they worry that they're going to lose old friends who, yes, may be in active addiction or drug using, and they form great attachments to them, which makes perfect sense as a human being. And the thought of losing these people is a bit scary and a bit disconcerting to a lot of people. And yet, to keep that connection up can lead to very risky situations, right? If everyone around you is using drugs, I mean, it's the old joke, right? If you sit in a barber shop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. But it's that kind of idea. But people still, because they're afraid of losing their old friends and they're afraid of losing this human need to connect, that they retain their old friends and are unwilling to get rid of them. But again, just to be really conscious of that, your environment plays this profound role. Another thing that we've noticed over the years that people run into trouble is if, particularly out of loneliness, if they want to connect with a lover. And very often, they will find someone who may not be all that stable emotionally and mentally. Typically, in the 12-step program, we might call this 13 stepping, right? We're going to pick out the most vulnerable newcomer we can find and then, hook up with them, all right? These relationships generally are disasters because there's no authentic connection with the other person. We tend to use the other person to satisfy our own needs. But very often people will get hooked up and they're very vulnerable, and again, generally speaking, not 100% of the time, but generally speaking, this turns into an absolute disaster, and particularly if both of them are in early recovery, one might start using and then the other one might feel jealous or try to bond with them and take up drugs again. So again, there's another kind of relationship that may not be all that healthy, but yet, it's normal for human beings to do this because it's satisfying this natural human yearning to connect with another. And a third one, a third relationship that may not be so good is an abusive relationship. I mean, there are an enormous number of people, it's almost kind of scary actually, that are in relationships that are actually abusive. And the way they make sense of it in part is that they're so afraid of the alternative, being alone, that they are willing to put up with a ton of crap to stay in this particular relationship. And so they do, and yet these relationships are not healthy at all. In fact, we know from a lot of the clients here that They might have wanted to break up with their partner, but for whatever reason they couldn't bring themselves to do it. They were too scared, or maybe it would mean, I'm less than a man if I break up, or something along that line. So they stay in these relationships, and yet basically drive themselves crazy, or at least to a point where they might get loaded after they leave us. So it's a third one, third dangerous kind of relationship to be in, one in which there is abuse involved, and yet you are willing to stick with it because you're so afraid of the alternative, which is to be alone. And this is one of the sad things that people are faced with all the time, that they have to almost feel like they have to give up who they are as a human being in order to find a sense of belonging in some kind of group, because of that need, that human need to connect is so powerful. And we've talked about that one in the past in the online program, where people are willing to give up who they are as a human being in order to fit in. Another absolute disaster for recovery. But anyway, that's our online program for January. The written portion is on the internet. If you want to fill it out and send it in, that'd be great. Anyway, we'll see you next month with a new topic. Thanks.